So we are extremely honored and delighted to have you in conversation with us, especially about a topic that we care extremely deeply about, which is human capability and employability and what the future holds in that context. I have a small image here which sort of sums up the narrative on what's going on with employability, the public narrative around it. So one says that 93% of management graduates are not employable. And the other one says, will artificial intelligence take over jobs? Which is sort of the two big things that we always hear. One is that the majority of graduates are not fit to be employable. And the second is that artificial intelligence or any form of automation technology will start destroying jobs. So with the blinding rate of technological change, and as a government and as an individual and as a leader who's very technology positive, how do you do the balancing act of being the first people to jump on those technologies while at the same time balancing a labor market and creating jobs, net job creation?
So, first of all, it's a real pleasure to be here in the midst of this very young, vibrant audience. And thanks for that very fascinating question. So we are heading for a lot of disruption. I mean, we are in the world where technology is going to disrupt employability in a very big way, whether it's blockchains, whether it's artificial intelligence. All this will create challenges. But it's not that there will be no jobs. I mean, there will be jobs, but there'll be different kinds of jobs. And there will be highly skilled jobs, and there'll be higher paid jobs. So you need to equip today's population with new skills of tomorrow. Because India is the only country in the world where data is publicly owned. I mean, we have 99.9% biometric. We're the only country in the world which has a unified payment interface. We all have mobile, so we're the only country with 1 billion biometric, 1 billion bank accounts, 1 billion, mobile. And as the cost of mobile devices fall, everyone will have smartphones, and you'll have a huge amount of data. And this data will lead to a lot of data mining. You will have access to a lot of good data for financial inclusion. You will have a lot of data for artificial intelligence. And all this would require a completely new kind of skills of tomorrow. So, in many ways, I find it very fascinating that in India, you have over 1,000 financial technology companies trying to disrupt the system. So on the back of this public infrastructure, there's huge potential for young entrepreneurs, all of you young entrepreneurs who are here, to actually innovate and take India forward. So new skills, completely new innovation, you'll have a lot of disruption, and you'll have many more higher paid jobs.
So I'm really glad you said that, because as the founder of X Billion Skills Lab, that is largely what we're trying to do. We're trying to give skills of the future in under $100 in an accessible model across India. So that is what we're trying to do. But what I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts about is, say, the next 5-7 years. In the long term, of course, the creative destruction will create enough posts to absorb and create a better standard of living. But how do we do that? One, how do we do the transition management over the next 5 to 7 years when the disruption just really initially hits? And how do we get industry to become amicable partners in this? Because they have to work with government and students and people who are going to be employed to soften the blow initially before that creative destruction sort of absorbs the new people.
So, one of the key challenges is that we've all inherited this Anglo-Saxon system of education, right, where we all pass classes and we get degrees and so on.
Credentialism.
Exactly. So all of us want to pass class 10, we want to pass class 12, and then we want to go and get a BA degree. I think this nexus between education and degrees need to be totally disrupted by people like you. And we need to move away. And one of the things we are doing, we're trying to do it from government side. So we've opened up about close to 2,400 Atal Tinkering Labs. And in Atal Tinkering Labs, what we do is we provide robots, we provide 3D printers, we provide Internet of Things, we do additive, manufacturing, all this from class 6 onwards. So we allow students to play around with a lot of machinery from class 6 onwards itself. And what we are finding out is that actually students are very, very innovative. And we find that students, where there are problems, so students in slum areas actually, we just had this competition on innovation between IIT students, public school students, and students from a slum school. And we made them compete. And we found that the children from the slum were actually more innovative than even IIT students, because they are trying to find solutions for the problems which they are confronted with. You know, the challenge is that Silicon Valley, you have the highest number of innovators from all over the world, but they keep innovating on stupid things like driverless cars.
Yes.
So you know, you need innovation, whereas in India you have all the challenges. So you have a challenge of trying to have water which is fluoride and arsenic free water.
Right.
How do you provide that to your citizens? How do your farmers get seed and fertilizer based on weather and soil conditions? How do you, how do we make our flyovers much quicker, faster? We take too long a period in construction. Or how do we do green batteries? All these are challenges for India. How do we make India, all our villages and homes electrified on the basis of not wires and poles, but on batteries? And all these are challenges for which we need solutions. And if you are able to find solutions, if the world is able to find solutions for the billion people of India, you are actually finding solutions for the next 7 billion people of the world. So your market, when you start with finding innovation for India, you're finding a market for the next 7 billion people of the world. And that is where you need a lot of innovation to happen.
So, I mean, I fully agree with you, of course. There's a few things that I'd like to pick up on. The first thing is, you talked about the demerits of a formal education. My parents are in the audience, and it's largely their fault. I tried to get out of schooling very early, but they didn't let me. So I want to point that out first. The second thing is, you mentioned Silicon Valley and sort of the useless bit of innovation that it tends to follow, which I very strongly agree with. One of the reasons that Silicon Valley came about was the excess of talent in one place. And largely when we talk about jobs and absorbing people in jobs, we talk about economic growth leading to job creation. But I've been reading, and it's one of our theories as X Billion Skills Lab, that talent in itself can create jobs. You don't have to necessarily chase economic growth for people to get absorbed into those jobs. If you create high quality talent, they will create economic activity and thereby economic opportunity. So just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, what I was saying, that Silicon Valley has great innovators, but it doesn't have challenges. The challenges are here. And you need to combine great innovation with the challenges to find solutions. What's important is that you keep disrupting your education system in a manner where the main purpose of an education system, to my mind, is to make you think. If you're thinking that how to find a solution, and you're constantly innovating, and you're constantly challenging, and if you're putting out, the best solutions come out when you take problems and put them through challenge, grand challenges, to my mind. If you put out grand challenges to the problems of India and ask Indian students to find solutions for those problems, you will get better solutions. And therefore, rather than just books, we should put out a huge number of grand challenges in schools itself for students to find solutions to their problems. And that is what will make the education system. We need to restructure our education system. The Britishers left behind this education system. But, the education system is going through massive radical changes. And that's going through because we need, education system is a function of great teachers. But it's also now becoming increasingly a function of the merger between good teaching, a great teacher, and good technology. And several places, great teachers are using technology to spread good, really outstanding education. So while we have been able to provide access of education to everyone now, we need to ensure that the quality of education strongly improves in India, and that's critical.
I absolutely agree with you, sir, and that's what we're trying to do at X Billion Skills Lab. We're almost out of time. There's just one little thing that I'd like to talk to everybody about that sort of picks up from several things you said. The first thing you mentioned was the plethora of data. And the next thing that you mentioned was how we need to revolutionize the education system. In context of those two things, we are running something now called the Human Capability Project. The idea is to pass hundreds of thousands of data points from students, from employed people, from corporations, cognitive scientists, and technologists, and sort of try to see what lies underneath human capability and how can it be augmented at a very integral core level to cope with the next 25, 30 years instead of teaching you one arbitrary skill. So we'd love your blessings and the blessings of NITI Aayog going forward sometime.
Sure. We'd love to do a research project with all of you. We can take you all as interns in NITI Aayog and you work with us to do this, find solutions. We'll be delighted to partner all of you in NITI Aayog. We work with a lot of young people. Actually, we keep disrupting NITI Aayog all the time. Yeah. So we have a lot of young people. We take a lot of interns, we take a lot of young professionals, and we take a lot of young consultants. They are the ones who drive NITI Aayog. So the key is that you're going to have a lot of data. Actually, India will be the only country in the world which will be data rich.
Surplus.
Data rich before it actually becomes rich. And so you'll have so much of data that when you analyze it using artificial intelligence, you'll be able to do financial inclusion rightly. When I was working in the fisheries sector, I was working with traditional fishermen. And that sector used to have a lot of middlemen. So my objective was to ensure a higher return to the fishermen. And we provided them new fiberglass crafts, new fishing nets, new outboard motors. Then we went to the banks, and the bank managers were taking 10 months, 11 months to open a bank account. Bank account opening used to take 11, 12 months in India. When I was, about a decade back. Last week I walked into one of the banks. I could open, using my biometric, my bank account in 1 minute. 1 minute. So the paradigm shift is from 11 months to 1 minute. And all this, just imagine what is happening. One of our newer banks, payment banks, has acquired 280 million consumers accounts, 280 million accounts in just 6 months. And they'll have 500 million accounts. By 2020, they'll have 500 million accounts, which will be more than the bank accounts which State Bank of India has, which has been here for more than 100 years. So look at the disruption which data is going to cause you. The data will be all data mined. And that is the big challenge. And all of you will have new kind of jobs.
Yeah. Yes.
This will be completely new kind of jobs of data mining, analytics, artificial intelligence. All this will create a whole set of very highly paid jobs. And, the challenge is that no country in the world has yet, in some of these areas, no country in the world has yet taken the lead. The whole world is in the midst of a transformation. And this is the time when India must become the #1 country in the world in these emerging areas of the world.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. I know I speak on behalf of everybody when we say that we have much more faith in where we're headed when we talk to you, especially us at X Billion Labs. We're looking to solve problems for India's next billion, and that is our goal too. We've followed for too long. It's time to lead as a country. Thank you so much.
No, great pleasure. Great pleasure talking to you, and your parents are very lucky to have you as their son. Thank you. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time.